She's dead, wrapped in plastic.
Damn good coffee, and hot. Black as midnight on a moonless night.
Do your palms ever itch? One day, my log will have something to say about this.
It is happening again. It is happening again.
My ticket out of Trolleyville. I'll be at the lab, gentlemen.
Anything we should be working on?
Yeah. You might practice walking without dragging your knuckles on the floor.
Albert, let's talk about knuckles. For the last time, I knocked you down. I felt bad about it. The next time is going to be a real pleasure.
You listen to me. While I will admit to a certain cynicism, the fact is that I'm a naysayer and hatchet man in the fight against violence. I pride myself in taking a punch, and I'll gladly take another because I choose to live my life in the company of Gandhi and King. My concerns are global. I reject absolutely revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. I love you, Sheriff Truman.
Albert's path is a strange and difficult one.
Well, welcome to this episode of the Twin Peaks Log. We are hosts of Mark Becky, and there we opened with the famous love speech by Albert. Hi, Becky.
Hello.
We opened this with sort of sadness because recently Miguel Ferrer died at the age of 61, too young, way too young. And he's our beloved Albert. It's a shame, isn't it, Becky? It's just a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, he was. My favourite performance by him is Albert. Albert is so great. In the few scenes he had, he really stamps it down, and I think Miguel Ferrer just relished this role. And there are sort of details of him cracking up the rest of the cast, especially with that drill, the drill scene, I think, in episode 3 over Laura's corpse, buzzing up that drill with relish. Have you got any other sort of, have you got anything to say about Miguel Ferrer, Becky? Any particular performances or about Albert?
Well, obviously I've come to this series very late, but out of all the performances, this has to be my favourite. And in terms of Twin Peaks, he's up there as kind of my favourite character alongside Cooper. Yeah,
I mean, it's not. This podcast is about trying to keep everything on the timeline, so noobs to the series don't get any spoilers. But we broke that convention here with that speech because of Miguel Ferrer's passing, and it doesn't really spoil anything either. In fact, I think if you hear it here for the first time, you've got something to look forward to when it actually happens, because it's a wonderful scene. I like Miguel Ferrer in all sorts of things. I don't think I've ever seen him so I didn't like him in. I actually saw him recently when I didn't realise he was, or I'd forgotten he was in it. I was rewatching Star Trek 3. And he pops up in that as, I don't think he's even credited, or it's a fairly minor role. He's like on the deck, and it's kind of interesting to see him so young. That was probably 8 or 9 years before his appearance as Albert, so he's significantly younger again. But he's been good in loads of things. I also really like him in Hot Shots Part 2. Playing against Charlie Sheen as like this military type not badass, but hard ass military type, sort of office, admin type, who's also in the field. But some of his comedic beats are excellent, which you kind of know from watching Albert, right?
Yeah.
He's also done a bit of Stephen King. It's kind of interesting. He was in The Stand as Lloyd, like Randall Flagg's main henchman, who's also kind of scared and worried about Flagg as well. He did a good turn there. And apparently he's done a fantastic turn in one I haven't even seen, called The Night Flyer. He's supposed to do a really great performance in that, but I've never seen it, so I can't comment other than being aware it's there, and I'll be getting to that at some point. And of course RoboCop is one of his other famous performances. I haven't seen him much. I know he was like a star of an NCIS series in his later years, but I haven't seen any of that, so I can't really comment. But he was, he's great as Albert. I understand Albert's scenes are in the can for the new series. I don't know how that'll work out, whether they'll just continue as before. I'm sure Miguel Ferrer would wish that if they do, but, it depends how tasteful it is, I guess. Let's hope. Let's hope we see a little more of Albert, but we'll see. Right, okay, enough of the sadness. Right, we got some feedback. We get our first MP3 feedback from one of our listeners, Andrew Rooney from New Zealand. Hi, Andrew. Okay, let's play this MP3, and then Becky and I will pick the bones out of what Andrew's been saying.
Hey, Becky. Hey, Mark. Andrew Rooney here from Auckland, New Zealand. Just want to say thanks so much for the podcast. It's really awesome. It's taking me right back to the first time I watched the show, especially with the play-by-play rundown that Mark gives, and then the first-time watcher reactions from Becky. It's really cool, and I think it's just the perfect format for a Twin Peaks show. You've definitely inspired me to do a rewatch of the first 2 seasons before I dig into the 3rd season, which I can't actually believe is finally going to happen. There's been a little bit of Twin Peaksy kind of news lately, especially with the passing of Albert today, Miguel Ferrer. Absolutely one of my favourite characters of all time, right up there with Cooper. Mark, you made a really good point on the first episode, I believe it was, about Kyle MacLachlan essentially being an avatar for David Lynch, and I definitely agree. I certainly think he was his Jimmy Stewart, where there is such a good director-actor understanding that he could essentially play what would like to play himself, or how he would like to portray and present himself on film. I really am looking forward to that rewatch, especially thinking back and reminiscing about the llama scene, the Tibet nonsense. It's just genius, in my opinion. I'd also like to give a big shout out to my drumming brother, admin extraordinaire, Jeff Watson. What's up, my friend? Absolutely the best admin going around. It's just so much better than all the other admins that I know. Not going to name any names. Hashtag Chris Downs. Chris, if you're listening, you should know I reject absolutely revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. I love you, Chris Downs. With that, I will leave you, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care.
Well, thanks, Andrew. It's nice to hear that we've inspired him to do a rewatch. He says he likes our format. I know Twin Peaks backwards. You're a first-time watcher, and I'm glad we're inspiring someone to rewatch. If we inspire just one person to rewatch, that's something, right?
Yeah.
He also commented about Miguel Ferrer, so we've already talked about that. What other points did he raise? He also talks about Kyle MacLachlan is an avatar of David Lynch, which I kind of raised at the in one of the early episodes, right? And he said Andrew described him as like a Jimmy Stewart type, which is interesting because I think I know way too much about films. Because Jimmy Stewart's, when you talk about, an actor working with a director, when someone says Jimmy Stewart, it's usually Hitchcock people think of, but I actually know that he works significantly with 2 different directors. The other one's more in the westerns. A great director called Anthony Mann, who made these set of westerns with James Stewart, which are a fantastic set of westerns. Things like Winchester 73 and Bending the River and stuff like that. So I'm presuming he meant the Hitchcock one, but yeah, it is. I mean, Kyle MacLachlan has worked with Lynch quite a few times. Not on everything, though, right? Yeah. I mean, Kyle MacLachlan came to prominence in Dune, which was David Lynch's film, and he played a very credible Muad'Dib in that. So, and that sort of launched Kyle MacLachlan. You know, I always felt Kyle MacLachlan should have been a bit bigger than he was. You know, I thought he should have gone on to more things. Though he's had a pretty solid career, hasn't he?
Yeah, Sex and the City.
Yeah, indeed. I've forgotten his name. What was it, Trey or something?
Yeah, Trey McDougal, I believe.
Oh, it's been ages since I watched Sex and the City. Trust me, you're going to be surprised, but I have watched Sex and the City. Right? He was the uptight, slightly weird one. Married Rachel? Not Rachel, Charlotte. He
married Charlotte, yes.
I'm mixing up with Friends now.
Oh, God. Yeah, but they treated him very badly, his character in that, I think. Sex and the City, I mentioned in a discussion on Facebook, I think in UNH, we were talking about The Hidden, which of course stars Kyle MacLachlan. The Sex and the City is very progressive in some ways, but very kind of troubling in others. And yeah, it's a strange one, that his character there.
Yeah, and he's particularly odd, isn't he, in it.
Well, I think it's because he's impotent, and his family has a lot of kind of familial obligations, and Charlotte kind of wants everything her own way, and it's just not very fair on him. I really feel sorry for him, especially now.
He has kind of mother issues or something, doesn't he? Yeah, it's coming back to me now. I forget. It's been a long time. Right? I don't watch it on repeat the same I do as Twin Peaks. That would be worrying. Okay, so. Yeah, and he mentions our admin Jeff and gives him a hi. Yeah, I just want to say also, hi Jeff, how are you?
Hi Jeff.
Now, there's some comments here I feel we need to explain to some of our listeners because they're a bit esoteric perhaps, or a bit specific. He mentions another admin, Chris Downs. Now, just to be clear, Chris Downs is the admin of the of a group called Horror Etc. Horror Etc. is a big inspirational podcast. It's one of the greatest podcasts of all time, I'd say, personally. Is that building up a bit, do you think, Becky?
No, I agree.
And a major inspiration to United Nations of Horror, the creation, and also an inspiration to my own podcast too. One of the 3 or 4 podcasts that really made me want to podcast. And something it's one of those ones that you kind of aspire to, but you're never going to achieve. But just to have it there, you know, as an inspiration, is helpful. You know, you're never going to be as good as it, but hell, you got to try. It's something to go aim for, right? But Chris Downs is who Andrew mentioned is the moderator for that, and he has really
one of them.
He's one of them.
Yeah, Jeff is also an admin there.
Oh, okay. But Chris Downs does go on a tear now and again and ban a load of people if they annoy him. He's harsh for fair, but I appreciate that strictness personally. I think take no prisoners, good idea, personally. Do you want to say anything about Chris Downs, Becky? I know you have an ongoing ding-dong with him.
Oh, yeah. He's just... he's on about dating my nan at the moment in another... over in Horror Etc. I think.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
Him and Andrew have this thing where they always, I don't know, between the 3 of us there seems to be this trolling thing going on who can outdo each other, and it always involves Jean-Claude Van Damme memes for some reason.
Right. Okay. This is getting a bit too Twin Peaksy without actually talking about Twin Peaks. Okay, let's move on to this episode. This is episode 6 of season 1, Cooper's Dreams, right? Directed by Leslie Linka Glatter, written by Mark Frost, and aired for the first time in America on the 10th of May 1990. Starts with a nice focus on a big old red moon, right? A big blood moon, pretty large red moon. which I'm going to mention later because there's a continuity thing. That's why I'm like going on about it now, really. Interesting, this one, because we actually see Cooper doing something, being very much more human than usual this time. He's a bit annoyed, isn't he?
Yep. He really is.
Singing Scandinavians, woken about 4:30, I think he says 4:28 at one point. He's talking to Diane angrily, right?
Yeah.
Asking her to send the earplugs that he didn't think he'd need, and going on about once a traveller leaves their own environment, they have virtually no control over stuff. Anyway, he goes and has his coffee, right? Try and perk himself up. And Audrey joins him, but he basically hasn't got time to talk to her because he's got to have his coffee and go. And she's obviously aching to tell him something, right? To try and sort of, impress him, perhaps. So she's trying to tell him about the case she's on, but it's in too much of a rush, right?
Yes, and it's quite an interesting little scene. Audrey is, we know she's stylized, but she really seems to be channeling Marilyn Monroe in particular here with her movements and her voice. And the kind of flirting between them really comes to a head, and he actually asks her outright how old she is, which is a really kind of strange little scene here that I think ties into the end of this episode.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't spotted that beginning and end stuff. There's a bit of this leading into the next episode too. But anyway, and then we see Jerry comes in and he's got a leg of lamb. He's talking to Ben. He's swinging around a massive... I mean, this looks more like a deer's leg than a leg of lamb, right? This is a bloody big lamb. He starts talking about his Icelandic queen, his princess.
What's going on with his hair?
Yeah, his hair's got weirder. I think David Lynch has lent him some product or something. And then Ben suggests, to seal the deed, that they take a trip to, and then he holds his hand over one eye, right? Without actually saying it. And while they're talking, Leland rocks up and sort of starts doing his crazy stuff. And Ben says, "Yeah, you shouldn't be here. You should be at home resting." But Leland says, no, he needs to occupy. I always feel sorry for Leland because he's just so tragic, isn't he? He's just almost destroyed by what's happened. He says he needs to work to occupy his mind. Then he sits down on the steps, starts crying, and behind him the singing starts again, right? Wow. Yeah.
It's just kind of this completely surreal moment that really kind of encapsulates the chaos that's going on at the minute.
Yeah. Meanwhile, are they still in Jack Renault's apartment here? I can't remember. All the FBI guys are there.
Yes, they are.
God knows how. Well, yeah, anyway. Dr. Hayward says the blood on the shirt is AB negative, so not Laura's. And I think Cooper then says, well, is it Jack Renault's blood type? And while he's talking, Andy brings Cooper a donut and a cup of coffee, and he looks well happy about that. They issue an APB for Jack Renault and Leo Johnson, and then they get a confirmation that Jack Renault's blood is AB negative, right? So Cooper's on the ball as ever. And then there's something odd happens. Cooper kind of gets on a stepladder thing. We just see him kind of step up and then come back down again. We don't know what he really does. It's a bit odd. Did I miss something? He just kind of went up and come down, like something in the ceiling. And he's got a copy of Flesh World. I'm guessing it was an event or something that he spotted. Yeah. They didn't show that. I suspect they probably filmed that scene, but the edit wasn't very good. This usually there's it's got to be a different angle, so they have to reposition, or either they forgot to do it. But if the shot's no good, they can't use it, so they just have to go with it. Anyway, that's getting all film technical. So they look in Flesh World, and they figured out that it's a magazine that basically passes letters between interested parties, right?
Yeah.
And he said that there's a certain postbox mentioned. He said he bet it belongs to Jack Renault. And then they find a picture of a guy in a nightie with a beard. Very fetching. Very fetching. And then Cooper asked Truman if he noticed the picture of Leo Johnson's truck in the magazine.
Now, why would that be there?
It's in there more than once, right? Because wasn't that in the first one they looked at, and they didn't notice it then, right? Or Cooper didn't mention it then. Presumably it's there in every episode, every issue, I guess. I don't really know. Maybe he got a cut price deal on, 5 adverts in 5 issues. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, there's a nice transition shot where it cuts to Leo's place, right? Mm-hmm. Now the truck is there, but then it cuts to Bobby being in there having breakfast, which is a bit weird, because that means Leo's... I don't know what it means. It didn't quite stack up.
No.
And there was some weird continuity stuff here. But you know what? If there's bad continuity, if there's one series where it doesn't really matter, it's probably Twin Peaks, right?
Yeah.
In fact, order of scenes doesn't really matter. So, Bobby's there having his breakfast, and Bobby's talking about how much he loves Shelley's cooking, right? And Shelley's all kind of excited about it. I get the feeling that Shelley's really into Bobby, and Bobby kind of likes the attention, but he's not that into her. I'm not sure. What do you think?
See, I thought it was the other way around.
You think Bobby's really into Shelley?
Yeah, and she just likes the attention, the bit of danger, really, because she seems to get quite turned on at the thought of Leo coming home.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the thrill. Maybe, yeah, it could be that. And Bobby then starts acting how he'd act if Leo was there, which is definitely not how he would act if Leo's there. So brash.
Which is evidenced by the fact that he jumps out of his chair.
He's terrified whenever he meets Leo. And then there's a knock at the door and he jumps out of his skin, and it turns out it's Andy, right? Andy the cop. Andy has turned up. And then Bobby says something about, do it like we practice. And then he goes on to the back. Worst hiding ever, because he's kind of looking around the doorway. Shelley answers in her dressing gown. And she basically says, Leo went off with this guy called Jacques. I don't know when he'll be back and all that. She's basically doing what Bobby told her. Bobby's kind of watching, as I say. And then Andy goes off, and I think they're kind of laughing about. They fooled the cop, and then Leo rings straight away and asks if anyone was asking after him. And Shelley basically lies. Then she says, "No, when are you coming home, Leo?" I said, "Does she say I miss you, Leo, and all this?" And he goes, "No, he says I miss you, Shelley." And he goes, "I miss you too, Leo."
Yeah.
And then Norma and Ed meet up. I'm trying to remember where was it. It looks like in the road by a
I think it's by his garage, isn't it?
His gas farm. Yeah, they're kind of casual about where they meet then, aren't they? Sorry, just drinking my coffee here. It's damn... No, I'm not drinking. I'm lying.
I was going to say.
It's tea. It's not coffee. I'm too wussy for coffee.
It's chamomile tea.
Yeah. It's green tea, actually. I'm not ashamed. She basically, they meet and she tells him Hank's got parole, and they kind of have a fairly adult conversation, but it's basically, we're always worried about hurting everyone else. Maybe we should worry about hurting ourselves, which is a fairly mature thing. And she basically asks him not to call her for a while, just let things settle down. It's kind of sad, really. I do like this pair. I really do.
I do. It feels like their relationship seems to be the only...
sane one?
Yes, sane, but also like that they truly do love each other and they don't want to hurt anybody. And I also have to say here as well with Peggy Lipton, I believe she was in her 40s when she filmed this, and she just looks stunning.
Oh, she looks great. She's Rashida Jones's mother, isn't she? You know it from The Office and Parks and Rec. Do you know the one? Have you seen any of those shows?
No.
Yeah, she's Quincy Jones. She married, or she's a pair with. I'm talking about. What's her name? I forgot her name. Peggy Lipton. She was either married or associated with Quincy Jones as a couple. Quincy Jones is a big music producer, and their daughter's Rashida Jones. And she's an actress in her own right. If you Google her, you'll see her. They look kind of similar. But she does look wonderful. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think she was famous in a 60s show called The Mod Squad. Because I do remember being on forums and people sort of mentioning, oh man, she was gorgeous in the Mod Squad, so and she still looks great. That was the kind of vibe when people were talking about her.
Yeah, and she's perfect in this role. She's so kind of elegant and classy and kind of not restrained, but she kind of internalises everything.
She's dignified. That's what she is. Dignity at every turn. And elegant, as you say. Okay, so then it cuts to Audrey getting an interview at the perfume counter. And this guy.
Wow, what a scene.
Is that the way to do things, Becky, when you need a job? Where's your head?
Apparently so, it works.
So job interview. Well, this guy, he basically wants us to start off really low. I've forgotten what he wants her to do now, but basically she said, rapping, that's it, rapping stuff. And it's, nah. It's basically, it's like I'll scream rape, which was a thing. There were, certainly in the 70s and 80s, UK, even comedies would do a thing where a woman would pretend to scream rape, or threaten to scream rape if someone kind of wouldn't get away. So it was a kind of fairly... I felt a bit disappointed in that bit of writing, to be honest, because it felt a bit... But I guess, because it's Audrey and she's from the 50s, basically, transplanted to now, it kind of doesn't feel that bad.
And I think as well, coming back to my comments about how she is very much like her father in regards to that manipulation, and my comments as well about her being a kind of inversion of Laura, I think she's that kind of naive, even though she exudes this kind of sexuality. She is quite naive in that regards, and she's kind of doing what she knows, what she's seen.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would have thought she could have easily just said, I'm going to own this place. Give me this job. One day I'm going to be owning this store. Give me this job. That would have worked just as fine. But
exactly, but it was a younger, more vulnerable kind of way of doing it.
Sometimes she's overly confident in how things are going to play out, isn't she? Overly confident. And it kind of works sometimes. And that's how it is sometimes when people are overly confident. It kind of goes in their favour. But when it doesn't, whoa, stand back. And then Donna and James meet. And it's a really peculiar scene. Do you want to talk about it a bit?
Well, this scene, it doesn't really kind of go anywhere, does it? But James has called Donna to meet him, and he seems very kind of troubled, and obviously we're thinking that it's something to do with Laura, but then he goes into this backstory about his family and how he told Donna that his father was dead, but actually he's just a deadbeat, and he left him and his mother, and that his mum basically is an alcoholic, I believe, and that she shacks up with men for weeks at a time, and as if this is going to drive Donna away, but obviously Donna just kind of embraces literally him, and it's like, yeah, don't worry about it, not a problem. I think it creates a little bit of a bond between them, was the only way I could think that was the inclusion for this scene.
Was it bad that I was laughing for most of this scene?
No.
Because I'd forgotten it, and it feels like a country and western song, right? It really does. His dad was a musician, I think he said, and ran off. And it reminded me a lot of the bizarro Santa Claus scene in Gremlins, right? A confession about something bad. This isn't the worst thing that ever happened. It's all that.
Never seen Gremlins.
You break my heart. But basically, James's point is, I don't want any secrets between us. And they agree. For some reason, that then leads on to, we got to find out what happened to Laura to stay true to it. I don't know, whatever. But it was a funny scene. It did make me laugh. It was like, you're joking, mate. I was just waiting for to tell her about how his granny is like selling dodgy insurance in Nashville or something. It was kind of getting a bit like that. Anyway, then we go on. Cooper and all the gang are still at Jack. They like that place. I'll tell you, they're good. And they find that they've got 2 letters from the box. One for Ronette, one for Laura. And then Cooper sees a picture of Laura in the magazine, right? Or is it in the magazine, or is it a still? I can't remember now. But he sees a picture of Laura and there's the red drapes, which he says, from my dream. And no one says a word. Not a beep. It's like, oh yeah, you dream, right? Okay. Now, all perfectly accept, because everyone accepts that's what he is, right? And then he looks at a picture on the wall where there's a log cabin, and he puts his magnifying glass up, and we see the same red drapes in the window, right? And he also says, I was wondering why a town dweller would buy 50 gallons of heating oil. Like, just to hit the nail on the head twice, right? About his cabin in the woods, yeah?
Yes, and this is a bit of a True Detective moment for me. And I don't want to give that anything away for anybody who hasn't seen that, but the way that this all kind of falls into place, why would he have a picture of the outside of his cabin with the red drapes on the wall?
Don't know. Who knows?
But it is Twin Peaks. So.
Yeah. It'd be alright if they had what they should have had is him posing, like hunting posing or something.
Yeah.
That would have made more sense, right? But anyway, Maddie then meets James and Donna in the diner. Maddie gets a cherry coke. Now, for some bizarre reason, there was a load of discussion about cherry coke when this episode came out. People trying to understand, what does it mean, cherry coke? Especially later on when something happens with a cherry stem, which we'll get to. But the cherry coke was supposed to mean something, but in fact it doesn't. Maddie orders a cherry coke. Well, I think it doesn't anyway.
I just took it as part of the 50s kind of vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Apart from that, I mean, that's fine, but there was deeper... I don't know. Anyway, the thing is,
she doesn't actually drink it, does she?
No, she doesn't drink it. Well, that was the point. She did either cherry, like forbidden fruit, like Garden of Eden stuff, and the fact she doesn't drink it means she's still innocent. I'm trying to give a feel for the mad discussions that used to go on about this stuff. I'm not endorsing it in any way. Anyway, they talk a bit more. And they basically get her to go along with their plan to look for something in the Palmer house. They think there's something there, right? Hidden compartments. And they leave, and the cherry cokes... no, Maddie also mentions that she always felt close to Laura. And she does this weird thing where she said, we used to know each other as kids and stuff like that. And then she'd say, I wish I'd have known her better. But it's like, when you know someone as a kid, you know them already. You know, I always feel that. If I meet someone I used to know as a kid, and I was good friends with them, I feel like I know them now.
Yeah, I think maybe with Laura...
Maybe they didn't know each other that well.
I think with Laura, though, because everybody is talking about how, she has this dark side that maybe, she's drifted apart and she's just, do you know what I mean? She's become slightly different, or she's become hidden and shielded that side of herself from everyone else. So it's as if she's like, this dual kind of personality. I took it to mean that they didn't really know her, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it could well mean that, yeah. Then they get up and leave. The cherry coke's just left there, doesn't get touched. Then the camera pans onto the cherry coke, and then it swishes across. And then we got Hank sitting in the booth right behind them, with his back to them, playing with his free domino, drinking his coffee. Right, so it seems like Hank has heroed their entire conversation, but we don't know. It's not clear. And then Norma and Shelley rock up from the beauty parlour. Is that what you look like when you come back from the beauty parlour?
Yeah, every time.
Every time. Hair up and everything. Way too much makeup. All that game. And then Hank sort of gets Norma to himself while Shelley kind of drifts off. So he thanks Norma for the chance she's given him. And says, what do I do around here? And she says, you can start by washing the dishes. And he goes, can I finish my coffee first? Kind of jokingly, but Norma's giving me the evils, right?
Yes.
Shelley's watching all this kind of standing apart, but she's also watching Invitation to Love as they're talking. And in it, we see Chet. I'm getting way too familiar with the characters in this Invitation to Love. Chet's in it being slapped around by Montana. What did you think of Montana's look?
I can't remember now.
Leather vest, top, sunglasses and a bandana.
Oh, wow.
Looked a bit like Dolph Lundgren from Dark Angel.
Really? Oh, wow. I'm going to have to watch that again.
You can't remember Montana? Oh, man, I'm shocked, Becky. You can't remember Montana. That's terrible. Anyway, and then we cut to Bobby looking bored, I think, and Jacoby's talking to the Briggs family. They're in his office, sitting on a big sofa. Major Briggs and his wife are sitting there very sort of bolt upright. Bobby's all slouched, leaning away from them. Definite body language thing there. And Jacoby's talking to him. And he says he needs to talk to Bobby alone. And they say, but this is family therapy. Do you want to describe this one a bit?
Yeah, so I thought that this was quite an interesting scene because, first of all, we get a reference to Bobby killing somebody, again, like we did in the pilot. That hasn't been switched on since.
Yeah.
And Dr. Jacoby here, he mentioned when Cooper saw him in the graveyard that he's not a nice person and he doesn't care about any of his patients apart from Laura. So that quite informed this scene. And I don't know whether it's because he's jealous because Bobby was also Laura's lover. And he would also have a lot of insider information from his sessions with Laura. And he seems to delight in basically really upsetting Bobby and even making him cry. And he's asking him about things that happen with him and Laura, such as did you cry the first time you made love to her and did she laugh at you? As if that's something that Laura has already told him. Yeah. Which really colours Dr. Jacoby's character at this point.
It's almost it's really indistinct what his motivation is. Is he trying to confirm what Laura told him?
Yes.
Confirm his thoughts about Laura, or because he knew stuff. He definitely knew stuff. The questions.
Yeah, and as soon as Bobby's parents are out of the door, he says, "Let's talk about Laura." That's his only agenda.
He definitely doesn't give a crap about Bobby. That isn't good therapy, is it?
Nope.
He asked him if he was sad when Laura died, and Bobby says she wanted to die. But then we get this story about Laura was the one that made Bobby start dealing drugs, so she could get drugs and stuff like this. So basically, it sounds like we get a scene here that sort of suggests or says quite explicitly, really, that Laura was the corrupter in all of this. And she tried to be good. She felt that people tried to be good, but deep down they're all rotten. And she's rotten too, right?
Yeah. Very existential.
Yeah. So what happened to her was, I don't know. I'm not going to say what of her own making, but she wasn't as good as people think. She's not just a victim. There's more to it than that, right? There's more to it.
Yeah.
What's going on here? That's a fairly intense, though melodramatic scene, right? What do you think of Dana Ashbrook's acting in this?
Well, it's a complete kind of turnaround from what we've seen before, and really we get the first sign of his kind of guard coming down. So I thought it was great, and like you say, it's a very powerful scene. Even though it's melodramatic, it's quite tense and riveting, unlike the kind of James and Donna bits and bobs. Yeah.
I thought Dana Ashbrook was actually less melodramatic than he has been in the past, though it was by nature a melodramatic scene. I think he underplayed it compared to his previous performance. I think it was a perfectly well-balanced performance for this, but it was kind of less affected than his earlier performances of similar kind of stuff. There's nothing quite similar like this, but let's say it was more actorly and less pretentious actorly. That's a bit unfair because I don't think he is a pretentious actor. I think he was given stay stylized. I think he was less stylized than this and more authentic in terms of how a character would cry and stuff. So it was good. I think it was good. I like Dana Ashbrook though, so that could be just me. So then it cuts to Cooper Hawke, Truman, and Dr. Hayward. Poor old Dr. Hayward trekking through the woods. He's kind of their fourth wheel, isn't he? When they haven't got Andy around. I think they probably left Andy behind so he didn't drop his gun, actually. So they're trekking through the woods, and it's kind of suggested they don't know what they're looking. They're not going to a specific place. They're just heading this way. Because at one point, Hawke finds a broken branch, like he's tracking something, and sort of points. Yeah. Which I think is a bit goofy. But they find a cabin, which is we're getting a bit of bait and switch here, because it's not the cabin they're looking for, is it? It's the log lady's cabin.
Yeah.
She invites them in, and she says, I was expecting you 2 days ago. And does she say something like the owls can't see it? Come in, the owls can't see it in here.
Yeah, which made me think she was some kind of sorceress or something. And just to mention here very briefly, the Log Lady intros. This one in particular, she talks about playing parts on the stage and that she can't give all of the answers, but she tries to give a few. And then she says about the fire, that it's not kind, and that it angers her. But within this anger, there's a clue. And I was thinking, okay, so this episode must kind of give us a clue as to who. I know that these, intros were added on kind of afterwards, but I was thinking, is there a clue in this episode? And I was thinking, when she talks about the fire that killed her husband, was her husband? Did he have something to do with this?
Yeah.
Just first time watcher kind of thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this being quite an intriguing one when it was first on because of this Log Lady stuff. I don't want to expand on this anymore, but there is much more detail about this, actually, or some more detail about this in the new book by Mark Frost called The Secret History of Twin Peaks. It's probably the bit of the book that most transects this series, actually, because a lot of that does not transect this series, really, apart from talking about the ancestors of some of the characters. But this Log Lady, this stuff with her husband's all in there, front and centre. Just so you know. But I mean, we kind of pick out from it because Hayward talks about it. It was the day after the wedding, right? And we kind of hear about her husband's death. So she says to Cooper, "What you need to ask my log." He looks a little uncomfortable, which is interesting considering, like, when he first woke, he was kind of grumpy, which is much more human than Cooper usually is. He usually's got a composure at all times, right? And again, he's kind of lost his composure here again one more time. So he asks, and she starts telling. He says, the owls were flying, 2 girls, 2 men, a 3rd man. She starts giving details about what the events, the order of events, which is kind of a bit chilling, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really horrible, actually. But then the key thing is 2 men and the girls, which Cooper says Ronette and Laura, Jacques and Leo, and then she mentions a 3rd man, which is really creepy, right?
Yes.
Anyway, they go on to the next cabin. Do you want to say what happens here?
So the next cabin, they tell the doctor to stay back, and when they go in, they find the record player on repeat, and the music, I believe that was produced by David Lynch, wasn't it?
I don't know, but it's Julie Cruz, so I think there's...
Yeah, I think he was involved.
Okay.
But of course, the first thing I thought of was Cooper's dream in the when Laura, is it Laura, says that there's always music in the air.
Yeah.
And of course, Cooper repeats this. And of course, we've got the red drapes here. And I must admit, when I saw that photo in Jacques Renault's house, I was thinking that is his log cabin the place where Cooper was in his dream?
Because there's red drapes there, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought originally, that when they entered, I thought they would be entering that lodge itself, that they, I didn't know what was obviously going to happen, and they have the bird as well.
Yeah, I think everyone thought that, when it was first aired. I think a lot of people thought that was going to be the impression was we were getting to the place he dreamt about. But it wasn't, was it? It was a different place.
Indeed, and just kind of deepens the mystery. And is it a minor bird, is it called?
Yeah, minor bird, Waldo.
Waldo is there. And there's also a camera set up. They find, I think, there's film in it.
They film, one picture I think they get out of that, I think. But anyway, there's blood spots on the floor, right?
Yes.
And then there's a cuckoo clock, which bizarrely, I think Truman goes up and has a look at, opens the thing. When he opens it, a poker chip falls out, right?
With the J missing.
Which matches the one that was removed from Laura's stomach, I believe, right? That's where they
It does indeed. And it mirrored for me as well the chip that Catherine found that fell out of Ben Horn's.
Yeah, indeed. Exactly the same type of chip, right? It was as well.
Yes, yeah. And, sorry?
Nothing? I didn't say anything.
So, yeah, we get the idea that this is talking about, I think it was Albert that mentioned that Laura was tied up twice. This really kind of informed this scene for me, that bit of information, that this is where the girls would come for, to be taken.
Oh, yeah, Cooper finds a ball of twine, right? Or something like that, doesn't he? Yeah. Okay.
So it's just so seedy, isn't it? And so, it's just horrific.
Yeah.
And obviously we're thinking how much of that was consensual, and it's just horrible. And then we cut to Josie sitting in the dark in an office.
Yeah, it's not clear which office it is, because some of the buildings do look kind of the same in the inside, right?
Yes. And we've got Jerry then talking to one of the Icelandic members of the party, and
he says something about what's it? What have you ever considered the possibility of what would result in our genetic co-joining or something like that? It's like worst line ever.
Yes, and obviously we're at the Great Northern here, and Catherine is very much, she's pissed off, isn't she, with Ben after the poker chip issue, and she deliberately goes over and thwarts this discussion. Obviously it's a business party, and by spilling champagne on his shoes.
Yeah, just pours it casually on his shoe, right?
I love how she did that.
She's a woman, that one. She knows her own mind.
I think like hell hath no fury is kind of mentioned, and he basically says that he'll meet her in a couple of minutes in his office.
Just one thing, we do actually find the punchline to that joke that was in the episode before, which was, what do you get if you cross a Norwegian with a Swede? And the joke was, the punchline was, a socialist who wants to be king, which is not a great joke, but there you go. I always wondered what the punchline was.
I love how lynching that is, just to kind of reveal it in another episode. That's great.
Yeah.
And then we get the wonderful scene between Ben and Catherine, in which he's trying to kind of placate her, and she slaps him. Was it 3 times?
There's a one point she slaps him twice, and he goes, "Finished?" He goes, "No," and slaps him again. Now I'm finished.
And wasn't that a bit of a mirror of the Invitation to Love scene as well?
I think so. I've definitely seen that in Noirs as well. I've definitely seen that. But I can't remember the specific one.
And, of course, she mentions the poker chip, and doesn't he say it's a good luck charm?
Yes, he does. He says, doesn't he start saying, Jerry lost that. I was looking for that. Or something like that.
Such a creep. It's so obvious as well.
Yeah.
And she's obviously riled up about this already and everything that's going on with the mill. So she wants him to burn the mill straight away. But obviously he has plans set in motion. He wants to give Josie one last chance, he says.
Yeah.
And he kind of calms her. And we notice then that Audrey's watching all of this through her little peephole.
And she's laughing away, like her own dad's snugging some woman on her desk. And she's laughing away. That'd be all right. Oh, okay. Audrey's very funny. Funny.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Jerry talking through the mic to welcome his Icelandic friends. But then it's very weird. Leland just comes in at that point, right? And the mic stops working, and suddenly big band music starts to play. Now, what's happening? Are the gods messing with Leland here? What's going on? It's weird.
Is it Audrey that puts on the music?
No, it just comes on its own.
Oh, so it was her kind of trying to, muck around with the business deals again in a playful way. But
no, I think it just something electrical goes wrong and suddenly music starts to play, or someone thinks because his mic goes quiet, they think they have to feel the noise. It might be. It's that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But because it's the music that kind of affects Leland, he starts wailing to himself and he starts dancing because he can't stop himself, right? It's like just a reaction. Ben and Catherine return and they know Ben for, oh man, he's going to blow the deal if they see this man dancing around like this, and he tells Catherine he's got to dance with him so he doesn't look so odd. So she starts dancing with him, then he starts grabbing his head like he's got an intense migraine. And then she starts copying, and everyone starts jumping in and copying like it's dance moves, right? And then Ben says to Jerry the most inappropriate but funniest line I can think of, which is, go and get Jacoby and Annette. While all this is going on, everyone's oblivious to what's happening with Leland, except Audrey, funny enough. She's watching Leland. She can see how much he's suffering. She cries, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Again, so Audrey's not what you expect all the time.
No.
Meanwhile, that's going on, and she... we cut to Maddie in the Palmer house. She's creeping down the stairs in her jammies, and was it zebra slippers?
Yeah, I think so.
Ah, sweet. And she phones Donna. She says she's found a tape in Laura's bedpost. She remembered that Laura had a secret compartment in her bedpost where she kept cigarettes. And she's got a tape recorder. A tape. Cassette tape. Now, that suggests Laura's always been abandoned to me. What do you reckon?
Yeah, but I mean, all kids have things like that, don't they? Like little secret hiding places.
Yeah, indeed. And she says to Donna, bring a tape recorder. She hasn't got a tape recorder. Then it cuts back to, I think, Josie and her sitting in the dark. And then Ben comes in. And they have a little conflab. And it turns out Josie's got the missing set of books from Catherine. So we're getting back to soap opera a bit there. And then it cuts to Shelley, still sitting in a dressing gown, or, being a dressing gown again, smoking. Leo comes back and he's walking towards the house. He starts unloading gasoline cans in the most obvious I'm an arsonist plot ever. He gets grabbed and punched, and it's Hank. We get Hank turn up. And he says to Leo, I told you to mind the store, not start your own franchise. He gives him a good whack and goes off. Leo goes in all bruised up and says to Shelley, get me a beer. She's kind of concerned. She said, are you okay, Leo? What's up? Kind of thing. And he pushes her away, and she's had enough at that point, pushes her to the floor. She pulls the gun. He goes, what are you doing, Shelley? And all that. And we see a fire, and then the light starts swinging backwards and forwards. Very Lynchian, this. And then we hear him screaming, really high-pitched screaming. And then that cuts, so we hear Cooper is... walking back to his room, and he hears singing again. The singing starts up at I don't know what hour. He goes, oh. He notices doors open, right? Mm-hmm. Goes in, and he finds a little visitor in his bed, doesn't he? Do you want to finish off the episode with that? Tell us about it.
So, the end of the episode, he finds Audrey in his bed, naked, under the covers, and quite distressed, and she's crying, and... This follows on really from the last time that we've seen her, which is crying over Leland dancing. And this, I was referring to right at the beginning, is quite an interesting scene because they're flirting quite obviously at the beginning, and then he asks her age, which is a bit strange. But here, he kind of turned into, quite a caring role, and just basically says that she's everything. I think she's, again, it's that vulnerability and naivety on her part. She's in his bed completely naked, and she expects him to just be like any bloke and kind of take advantage. But when he says he wants to be a friend and that this isn't ethical because of his position within the FBI and all that sort of stuff, she asks him, don't you want me? And again, that's such a kind of not a childlike, but, a very young, naive, vulnerable thing to say. Yeah. And he says, you're everything that a man would want. You're intelligent, you're desirable, you're beautiful. But what you need right now is a friend. Yeah. And that, like I say, not only, I think, refers to the beginning scene, but also a scene that is to follow. But I'll talk about that in due course.
I think she says all that in the next episode, actually, at the beginning of the next episode, right? because all I remember is he goes in and she says, "Don't ask me to leave." Is that right? Or am I got it mixed? I might have it mixed up. But
Oh,
she
no,
basically
maybe.
does say,
I've watched these, like, back to back, so I apologise.
Okay, she does say, "Please don't make me leave," and it kind of ends. And my final note on that is, don't you just hate ethics sometimes? That was my final note. So that was the episode. Pretty solid one. I'll tell you what, should we rate these two at the end? We'll get through these two first, and then we'll rate them both. So we'll have a little musical interlude, and we'll get on to episode 7. Okay, nice bit of relaxing music there. A bit of Julie Cruz, right? Okay, so episode 7, Realisation Time. These titles are getting a bit bland, actually. Directed by Caleb Deschanel. I think it's a relation of Zoe Deschanel. I think it's her father, but I could be wrong. Written by Harley Payton. First aired on the 17th of May 1990. Now, starts with a shot with the moon again. Did you notice something different about this moon from the last moon?
It wasn't a full moon.
It was a half moon, and it wasn't a red moon, which isn't surprising, but it was a half moon, right? So continuity is completely to cock there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's Twin Peaks. So, I think we've already talked about this scene, actually. It's the bit with Audrey in Cooper's bed, and I think he says at one point, "I'm an FBI agent, and you're a high school girl." And she goes, "Do you want me to leave or what?" It's like that, isn't it? And then he kind of says, I'll be you need a friend, I'll be your friend, and all this. And it's quite sweet, because he's really knackered here at this point, and he says, "I'll buy you a malt. Come on, I'll buy you a malt if you tell me your troubles." And she says, "I could take all night." And he's like, "That's fine, Good old Coop, eh? What a guy."
Yeah. Still going to look really fishy, though, if anybody sees her in his bedroom.
Yeah. To be honest, though, if it were any other person, they'd definitely lose their man card. But Coop gets a pass because he's too cool to take his man card off. Okay, so then we see Andy rock up, and Lucy's, like, giving him the old cold shoulder here, isn't she? She's really cutting him. Yes. And she said, "I got business, and she gets a call from a doctor. And she says, "Oh, good." Like, she's had some news from the doctor. I wonder what it could be. And then someone else says, "Are you feeling better today? You were sick yesterday." It's like, "Oh, well, I wonder what this could be." No, poor old Lucy. But I did notice that when Lucy came in, he's blowing his whistle. He's playing several notes on his whistle. Like, his whistle's getting better and better. He's playing different notes on it now, I think.
Yeah.
So Cooper's getting more native, I think.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Waldo and a massive table of donuts in the meeting room in the station.
Underneath Waldo as well, isn't it?
It was, well, not quite underneath, because that would be disgusting.
Still.
It's still disgusting, right? Putting food under a bird's cage. But it is slightly to one side. And we have the multi-talented Dr. Hayward, who seems to do everything in this town, apart from being a town doctor. He seems to be running the blood tests. And at this point, he knows about minor birds. He says, he's malnourished, dehydrated, and he won't start talking until he recovers some. So they think he might speak, minor birds speak, like parrots. And there's an interesting scene here where they're trying to feed Waldo grapes, and Dr. Hayward says to Cooper, would you like to feed him, Agent Cooper? And he stands back and he goes, "I don't like birds." which is an interesting one. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
It goes completely cold. I don't like birds. Like, nah, I'm not going near that thing. Which is interesting given that owls constantly get mentioned and stuff like that, right? Like, birds mean something to Cooper, perhaps. Either consciously or unconsciously. And then that little bit ends in a funny, odd, quirky way where Hayward just says, these grapes are right on the edge, and just walks out. I think he asked, just before that, he asked Truman if there was any apples in the fridge or something. These grapes are right on the edge. So they've also got confirmation that Leo, Laura, and Annette were also in the cabin with Jack, I think. I think they know that Jack's it's Jack's cabin, right? They've had a single photo developed, which is really weird because he shows it to Truman, who says, "Oh yeah, that's a bird, all right," and Cooper says, "No, that's Laura." And then Truman kind of turns the picture and like frowns at it, and we only see it sideways, right? So we can't quite see it. It's really hard to figure out what it is. And then Cooper comes up with his bit of tech, great use of tech. He's got a voice-activated recorder, leaves it with Waldo. So as soon as Waldo starts talking, or there's any noise in the room, it'll start recording. Then they have the chip from One-Eyed Jack's, and they know that Jack is a dealer at One-Eyed Jack's. And Cooper says we need to visit, and Truman says, well, that's not in our jurisdiction. So Cooper just rocks up, yeah, but it's a job for the Bookhouse boys, right? It's like, Cooper don't care now. He really doesn't.
No. And I think that's the thing with his little whistle at the beginning now. He's really, and like you said in the previous episode, he's becoming more human in his traits. I think you're really seeing how Twin Peaks is affecting him and how he's becoming one of them. And he's counting himself as a Bookhouse boy, isn't he?
Yeah. And then we see Leo in the woods watching his own house with a hunting rifle, and his arms all bandaged up. So Shelley shot him, but it was obviously just a flesh wound, right?
Yes.
And he sees Bobby go in, and he's got his hunting rifle with it. We see through his his telescopic sights, like sniper sights, that he's looking at the house and stuff. He's only got one arm, but he's still pretty good, you know. And he's saying things like, "Come on, lover boy, I'm waiting for you," and all this kind of stuff.
Why would Shelley stay after shooting him? And he's obviously escaped. You know, she knows he's going to come back for her. I just thought it was really silly how she stayed.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Would you go anywhere?
No.
Anyway, so Bobby's rocked up. Bobby starts kissing Shelley, and she tells him that she shot Leo. And how he kept screaming and screaming like an animal. What do you think of Machinamic's acting here?
I thought it was great. Again, we kind of see her. She's obviously been attacked by Leo, but she kind of holds it all together, and she's used to that kind of abusive relationship. But here, she's completely broken down, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's a wreck.
We see that quite raw, like you say, it's melodramatic, but it is kind of toned down a little bit again, like with Dana Ashbrook.
It's more like you'd expect from a more traditional drama, right?
Yes, yes.
And it works because they're actually pretty good actors, and it kind of works well. And it makes you think, you know, if they're fairly young, so they're probably more adaptable. It must be a bit odd to be an actor and go into a thing and be told to act in a certain way that you're aware is sort of stylized and non-realistic. It must be a bit weird to do because you think, well, this looked to some people like bad acting, but. They work with it, and it kind of works. Maybe I'm like trying to impose way too much for knowledge or, awareness on the actors, but it just seems it's interesting that they can act proper. I don't want to say properly, but act more conventionally as well as, in a more stylised way. Though I think Shelley's always been a fairly natural kind of act. That her persona is more natural than Bobby's.
Yes, yes.
She cries a lot, doesn't she? She says, "I know he's out there waiting to kill me." And Bobby says he's going to deal with Leo. And then he goes on about James again. I cannot believe he keeps going on about James in front of Shelley. Do you know what I mean?
But this bit really made me think, because obviously he's jumping when he hears somebody pull up, even though he's talking big. anything he's going to do with everybody and whatever. We don't see, like we do in Leo, that kind of that dark, aggressive streak in Bobby, yet he's meant to have killed somebody. And this is what my mind keeps coming back to, but none of the scenes...
Is that just all talk? Right.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, but why has it been mentioned twice now and nothing else has kind of come of it? That was really kind of playing on my mind, and he just doesn't seem the type. But even all talk, people would look at him and know that that's just not in his character. He's just a spoilt brat teenager, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, we know Leo's killed someone because he killed that one of the Renault brothers.
Exactly. So,
and bizarrely, he's still palling with his brothers. It's really weird. I don't understand that bit at all, but... well, actually, we don't know that because they've not interacted since his brother died. But why would I still don't know why that guy died? I've got no idea. I forgot what his name would be. Maurice or something. Oh, I can't remember. Bernard.
Bernard,
was
yes.
It?
Yeah, Bernard.
So Bobby says he's going to deal with everything, but who knows? Meanwhile, luckily for Bobby, I think, and Shelley, Leo hears the police radio. I couldn't quite hear the words here, but I can't remember if they said they got the bird, but they said they got a witness who can talk or something. And I
think they did mention the bird, yeah.
They said
a
bird,
so.
Right. Okay. And he jumps in and drives up with his gun, throws his gun in, jumps in, drives off. He's got some brains, Leo, at least. So we then see Maddie and Donna sitting at the table, listening to the tape recorder, and it looks like it's just the two of them at first, but it slowly moves around the camera, and we see James standing, kind of looking moody out the window or something. Right.
And can I just interrupt here with some feedback that we had in the Facebook group?
Sure, go ahead.
And it was I just thought it was really interesting. Tim Utton, thanks for the feedback, Tim. He said that he was listening to one of the previous episodes, and that you, Matt, commented about the scene later in the series with James singing to Donna and Maddie, and how you couldn't understand why David Lynch thought that this was the one scene that defined the series. And he says that on the surface, I agree it's an odd choice, but in retrospect, if you think about what happens throughout the scene and how it ends, I think I can maybe see what Lynch was getting to. And he says that the scene starts with a bubblegum heartthrob sing-along, typical 50s iconography that Lynch likes to fetishize. Good word there. Everything is sweet and innocent, at least on the surface. And soon Donna becomes jealous, introducing a subtext of sexual tension that isn't immediately apparent. Maddie then has her vision of Killer Bob, and Lynch's favourite theme, evil and corruption under the appearance of innocence, becomes apparent. Also, he says you can't discount the supernatural influence that weaves through the whole series. Taken as a distillation of the whole series, I think it works. And then he says, mind you, I could be reading way too much into it. Lynch is nothing if not inscrutable. And I thought it was really interesting reading of that scene with on the top of our discussion in a previous episode.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Sorry, not just points. The way he phrased it is something I wholly agree with, actually. I think it's kind of... when I read that, it kind of... Some of the pennies fell into place, I need to watch the scene again and talk about it more, to be,
yes.
Now, I was also trying to remember why I was thinking that was supposed where I'd read or heard that Lynch thought of this scene this way, and it came back to me. I heard it discussed on Chinstroker versus Punter.
Yes.
Mike from Chinstroker versus Punter was talking about this. That's I want to credit that for a start. That's where I got that piece of information. Mike is very well read about Twin Peaks. And I hope, I've had Mike on a few other shows, perhaps when we get to that episode, I might ask Mike if he'd like to come on that episode, to talk about the whole episode, but also specifically to talk about that scene. So if I can arrange that, if we can get that together. Mike lives in New Zealand now, so it's not as easy as it would appear. In terms of timings, but he's very accessible and amenable to this sort of thing. So it might be when we get to that, we'll get Mike from Chinstroker versus Punter on, which would be kind of cool, right?
Yep, definitely.
So we'll come back to that then. But yes, this scene is a kind of premonition, that isn't the right word. A sort of early echo of that later scene, right? where the three of them are together. In fact, any time the three of them together, it's kind of leading to that, kind of.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're listening to a tape recorder. James is there. Laura starts talking about all sorts of things, really. Dreams she had, bad dreams. And she starts going on about men. And she says, men like me, and I know you like me, Doc. I don't have to try hard. And she kind of puts... Doesn't she put a sort of pin in the fact that if she had to try harder, she maybe wouldn't have gone down this route or something?
Yes. So that she enjoys at least part of this kind of corruption and darkness. I believe.
Yeah, it's kind of a dark scene all round. Really. You know, they're sitting in a light place, but this tape is just... It's a very mesmeric scene. You know,
yeah.
It's kind of hard to remember the details, but the effect is quite powerful.
Yeah, considering it's an audio, recording, there's nothing kind of cinematic, but just, this quite chilling, her voice, listening to her, obviously knowing that she's deceased and listening to her for the first time, really getting at, the audience is listening to her directly. Gets that kind of insight into her character. So it's quite chilling, but really effective for an audio scene. There's nothing terribly cinematic about it.
Yeah. No, there isn't. It's just on audio. I mean, it is nicely directed, I will say that, but there's nothing in the scene where you think, that is so beautiful, I could frame that in a picture and it'd be lovely. It's not that kind of good, but it's well directed, but it's the audio that is the power, right?
Yes.
Maddie says she finds a tape because she's found a tape case empty. In fact, I think she gets it out and it's dated on the night Laura died. I've got a note here, which is a bit cruel, really, which is, I said, isn't Laura an organised wild girl? Well-organised wild girl. And they think that Jacoby might have the tape and doesn't Laura also mention, say, Doc, I know your secrets, you keep them in your coconut, or something like that?
Yes.
So they are aware of Jacoby's coconut. This sounds like a euphemism.
That's what we should have called the podcast.
Jacoby's. I always say Jacoby's coconut. I know it's Jacoby. I don't know why. They want to get it. They want to look at his coconut, right? Oh God, I wish I'd have said that. And they hatch a plan to sort of get him out of his office. And I think the comment is, how? He says, and I think James says, maybe a phone call from Laura, and he presses the tape, and then it starts Laura's recording. Hi, Doc. I was thinking about you, whatever it is. So that implies to me they're going to use the recording to fool him, right?
Yes.
Which they don't, bizarrely. No, it's What's Up, Doc. I've just remembered it's What's Up, Doc. A bit of a reference there to Bugs Bunny. Okay, so we then cut to the Horn's department store, the perfume counter, where Audrey's all bored and being terrible as a perfume counter member of staff, being horrible to the customers. She's a bit Al Bundy-ish. And yeah, whatever. People are asking, I want something that does this. She goes, one says, I want something that makes a statement. She goes, if you tried hanging it around your neck. And then the manager, sort of the creepy old manager, comes up and talks to the other perfume girl, Jenny, to come see him. Audrey says she needs to go to the bathroom, and she just waltzes into the manager's office, goes into a cupboard, starts a cigarette, and just looks through the grating, the vents. That takes some balls, that does, smoking a cigarette in someone's office.
It does.
While you're hiding in the cupboard.
It does, and it's one of his cigarettes as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not just the smoke, it's the smell, and it's the it's the light, but she don't care. She don't care.
This starts to shape her as a bit of a femme fatale.
Yeah. Now she watches Jenny being kind of sweet talked by the manager in a creepy, grooming kind of way. Saying, it was a good night, you did well, everyone's pleased with you. You could earn more money as a hospitality girl. And then he gives her a crystal unicorn. Weird, right? Weird. Is it
I immediately thought of
unicorns?
Black Christmas.
Did you? I
know-
thought of Blade Runner.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But, you know, I don't think it means anything, but a unicorn is strictly purity, right? Or something. It gives her a card with a number on it and it's told to ask for Black Rose. And then suggests they go get her something elegant in evening wear. And then they sidle off. But Jenny doesn't even bother with the unicorn. She just puts it there. She knows the score, I think. So Audrey picks up the unicorn, pockets it, and looks through the manager's book and finds Renat Pulaski mentioned. So, like, she's putting two and two together here. She wants to impress Agent Cooper. That was established a few episodes back, right? By doing a bit of detective work. But, you know, we know she's playing with fire here, right?
Yes.
Hank's working in the diner, talking to Shelley. Shelley's obviously quite distracted from all the nightmarish home life stuff. You know, shooting your own husband, him running into the woods screaming, and he's got a really bad temper. That's never going to be fun, right?
Yeah.
And he basically says, "Oh man, it was great that guy helped around the place. What's his name, Pete?" And she says, "Big Ed." Like, oh man, Shelley, what? Pay attention. Hank's like saying, "Big Ed, huh?" A proper soap opera. And there's one bit I didn't understand at all. There's a lighter on the counter, and Hank just puts it in his pocket.
The thing,
Did
obviously,
you?
Hank's connected to Leo, and we've already had these conversations about the mill being burned down, and obviously we had the meeting between Leo and Ben, so I assumed that Hank was involved with that, and that was, just a kind of motive to show that he's
To steal a
involved.
lighter.
Yeah.
Pocket a lighter. Okay, yeah, that's about all. The only connection. I can't see any other significance to that action. Truman comes in, and Hank tries to be sort of kind of pally. I think he said, "Are you in for the free coffee or something?" And he basically says, "You're on parole. You'll go back in if you miss your Friday meeting." Harry is not sort of playing palsy with him at all, right?
Nope.
Shelley offers them black coffee. They stay, and then Cooper says this wonderful little speech. Do you want to share this one?
His speech, he basically
I've put
says,
you on the spot, haven't I? I bet you. I haven't got it ready either.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Every day, once a day, give yourself a present. It can be anything. I think he says, a piece of pie?
A nap. A pie.
A nap.
Or
Yeah,
2
there we
cups
go.
of coffee, something like that. He gives always give yourself a present. What a great piece of advice. Has someone written down, Cooper's life advice there? We need that. Then it cuts to Audrey back at the perfume counter. She says to Jenny, "Oh man, I lost the card he gave me. Did you get one of these?" She shows her the unicorn. She goes, "Yeah, cheesy. I bet it's got a drawer full." And she said, "But I lost the card for Black Rose. Have you got it?" She says, "Sure." She writes it down. So Audrey cons the number out of her, right?
Clever, very clever.
Yeah. And then Nadine's sitting watching Invitations of Love. And again, we get Chet and Montana, right? Now, Chet, is this where... Yeah, because in the early scene, Montana was slapping Chet around, right? The one I was talking about in the previous episode. But in this one, Chet shoots Montana, right? He's had enough of Montana and shoots him. Nadine's watching, saying, "You show him, Chet. Don't let them push her around," or something like that. Chet, Nadine really likes this soap opera, right?
Yes. But Nadine does live in a fantasy world.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
right?
true. Big Ed comes in and oddly, she looks at her own wrists. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
That's not good, right? And
Nope.
then she starts telling him she got rejected. Silent Drapes have been rejected. And she starts going about they're all going to reject it. They're all going to be the same. And Ed's like, "Is there a pep talk? Don't you give up, Nadine. Don't you dare." How about that? I'm going to use that line. Don't you dare. So that's kind of a nice little scene. Didn't really relate
It
to
is.
anything.
No, but it did, because Nadine, especially from the beginning, is so kind of strange. especially against Ed's relationship with Norma, this really kind of gives you an indication of why he stays and how much he does care about her.
Yeah. I mean, they're nice people, aren't they, Ed and Norma? That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, he wants her to have. He doesn't want her to be downhearted, really, right? And then it cuts to another scene where Truman is visiting the Martells, right? See Josie, really. Pete's there, and they're looking at Pete's fish, and Pete's saying, "Oh, it was bigger when I caught it. You know, it's just been staffed and mounted." And he says, "It's still." Doesn't he say it's not the size? Oh, it's one of them. It's not the size that matters, kind of thing. Pete's going, and he's got this massive fish. It's like a salmon, I think, mounted. He says size isn't everything, I guess. And then so Harry sees Josie, they kiss. Then he asks her, "Were you at the hotel watching?" And she says she was, because she was watching Catherine and Ben, because she's frightened they're going to kill her. She's got a perfectly good motive, right? And reason to do it.
Yeah, she was still quite reluctant to tell him, though.
Yeah, but you know, I think she's probably putting her head, you know, does this all stack up or something? I don't know. She shows him pictures of Ben and Catherine together, and she then says, "I think they're trying to burn down the sawmill." Which is weird, because now we got this like thing of Josie seems to be in cahoots with Ben, so it's Catherine that's been the one who's mugged here, right? But it's all a plot to burn down the mill. Now she's just told. Now she's involved with something to do with burning down the mill, but she's told the local sheriff. She thinks they're trying to burn down the mill. So is it a part of the framing of Catherine?
I don't know.
It's weird, isn't
That's
it?
the thing. Because of her kind of feelings for Harry. That's what I took it, that, you know, she feels like she can trust him, and she wants to get out of this rut she's in, but she really can. But since seeing her in Ben's office in the last episode, I was actually quite surprised at that. And obviously she's been a bit shifty and strange from the beginning, so she's really an intriguing character. I think.
She is, and she comes across all innocent, right? She definitely comes across all innocent all the time.
We know with Lynch
that office thing, nah.
And did you think as well, in the office, because Ben is quite sleazy anyway, but he kind of gets very close and kind of nibbles a bit at her, and I was thinking, do you think that they were having a relationship?
Oh yeah, I do. Oh, okay. She might have been just putting up with him.
Yeah, but still, ew.
Well, you know, sometimes, yeah. Then it cuts to Cooper and Ed preparing to go to One Eye Jack's for their Bookhouse Boy visit. Brilliant. I loved all this. Do you like to gamble, Ed? And Cooper pulls out 10 grand, gives him 300, and he says, "I like to bring back a return of 10 to 15%. Nice. Was it 10 grand or what? I think it was 10 grand. It was a lot of money.
10, yeah.
Truman then tells Cooper about Josie's fears about the sawmill being burnt down. Basically, everything's building up to this sawmill being burnt down, right? That's where everything's kind of going now, right? And also, everything's built up to a visit to One Eye Jack's too. That can't be neglected.
Can we just say how good, what's he called?
Ed.
Big Ed's wig is.
Big Ed's with a moustache, awesome. That wig. He looked like a Scouser, didn't he? Sorry, let me qualify that. There was like a comedy character Harry Enfield used to do called the Scousers, and they've all got black permed hair and moustaches and go, hey, calm down. Do I do a good one? I know.
That was very good.
And he looked just like one of those. So I'm not condemning all people from Liverpool. That's not what I meant. I'm talking about that specific comedy stereotype. He definitely looked like one of those. Truman's just told Cooper about Josie's fear, you know, about the meal and all this. And Cooper's like, fairly penetrating questions. What, do you know anything about her and where she come from? And Truman's like, all I know is I love her and she's in trouble. And Cooper's like, it's good enough for me. Yeah, what a guy. Then they start attaching sound devices, you know, hidden sound mics and stuff to themselves. Hawk's outside listening in a van. and they say, right, our cover is we're high rollers from the Tri-City. I don't know what that means. Tri-City. I don't know. We're oral surgeons. What a weird choice of cover. I guess those sort of guys get a lot of money and they can throw it around.
Yeah.
Audrey is hanging around the hotel asking if Agent Cooper's returned. She's getting all like perturbed, right? A bit agitated. But Cooper's busy, obviously. Then we get an interesting scene where an insurance agent goes sees Catherine about a signature, about a life insurance policy to cover her for $1 million, was it? Which starts at midnight, and like all this paperwork's been signed without her. So it seemed a bit odd to do it without you being involved. So I thought I'd better come see you. So yeah, really odd, really. And then she finds out the beneficiary is Josie, but Ben Horn was a witness. And then the old agent's name is I can't remember what his name is, but it's from a famous noir film. I think it's from the film Double Indemnity. There's a character in that, isn't it? Oh, I can't remember. But anyway, he's got the same name as that guy from that film. And he's kind of a bit suspect because he goes, is there anything I can do? You know, anything? Eyebrows going up and downwards. And Catherine doesn't sign and says, and just asks him, are you ambitious? Are you very ambitious? Like, there's some collusion going on there. And then we see Audrey leaving the hotel with a night bag, but there's a Chinese or a Japanese chap checking into a room, and they nod to each other, like, you know, they don't know each other, but it's just a polite nod, acknowledging each other. But there's a Chinese, I don't know, let's say Japanese guy checking in. So, might be something to do with Josie, might not, who knows. And then we see Waldo and the thunderstorm and the donuts. And then we hear him, I think we hear him start talking, right? And then there's a gunshot and blood goes all over the donuts. Ruins them donuts. Ruins them. And we see Leo running away in the rain, right? And this is why they're putting their disguises on still, right? So Leo, they all go in and Cooper starts rewinding the tape to listen to it, and we hear Lucy saying, pretty birdie, and all this. It's kind of a cool scene because he doesn't instantly rewind to the right spot, right? He's trying to find the right spot, which adds to the tension quite nicely, I thought. What do you reckon?
Yeah, we get a bit of humour, don't we? Because we get Lucy talking to the bird.
That's kind of fun. But then then we get the really dark stuff where we hear the minor bird repeating Laura, right? Stop it, you're hurting me. Oh, that was grim. And then Leo, no. Oh, right. Leo's looking like proper in the frame here. Anyway, they go on with their mission. They all turn up with one-eyed Jacks. Cooper's got his cool glasses on. And him and Ed rock up, and Blackie comes and says hello, and she goes, she instantly looks at Big Ed and says, you look like a cop. And Cooper goes, I'm the cop. And she says, you look like Cary Grant. And he says, yeah, we're Fred and Barney. Nice. And he says, what do you guys do? And then Big Ed chips in, I have a gas station and I'm an oral surgeon. And she says, she like instantly for, you know, these guys, they're just making up stuff so we don't know who they are, you know, standard for any visitors here, right? They don't want to know. She says, I have a Chevy in the back with a root canal problem. And then she says something like, hope you have a lucky night. And Ed says, luck has nothing to do with it. Nice. And then doesn't Cooper give him the thumbs up? Or say, well done or something. Like, Ed nearly blows it and he's like, no, you did great. And then we get... I mean, there's a lot of creepy scenes in these two episodes, but the next scene for me was the creepiest. Maddie's creeping downstairs with a paper bag. It's obviously some clothes or something, a large paper bag. And as she leaves, we see Leland sitting in the dark, just staring into space, and he kind of just looks around. And then he goes,
see, I didn't feel that was creepy. I just thought it was...
it was tragic. Wow.
Yeah, that's how I took it. That he literally
creepy's
does
not the
not
right
know
word.
what's going on.
Mortifying, I think, is the word I was looking for. It's kind of, you feel bad for him, but it's kind of, it's a bit odd, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it isn't, given the trauma he's been through. But, I mean, I think Ray Wise, you know, he barely does anything, but he really strikes a chord there, I thought, anyway. I think you're not disagreeing with me, but no, all right, creepy's not the right word, you're right. It's kind of startling. I found it the most affecting scene in these two episodes, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely.
And there was a lot of affecting stuff, you know. The bird doing Laura was pretty strong.
So poor bird.
Yeah. It was a shame. I like Waldo. There was a whole strand of people that thought Waldo did it. I can't explain that, but there you go. I guess something to do with poison. Okay. And then we see a car pull up to James, and Maddie's gets out with blonde hair, you know, looking just like Laura a bit. It was weird. Did you notice there was some kind of good costume decisions here? Because she didn't look comfortable in her clothes. Do you know what I mean?
No, and she looked bigger, didn't she? The padding in like her shoulders, and that she was made to look bigger.
Yeah, I don't know if it's how the actress was comporting herself, or whether it was the clothes, or a bit of both. But it was, you could tell it wasn't a person feeling comfortable in how they were dressed and that, and it kind of worked well. Then Donna rocks up. James is just like stunned, you know. He's got his shocked expression for a change. And then it cuts to the hotel again, and the Iceland guys are singing. Jerry's talking to his Icelandic princess. I think this might be the bit where he's going on about I mentioned it last time. I've been talking about mixing their gene pools, but it might have been here actually. I get confused because Jerry's always saying stuff like that. Ben wants to know when they're going to sign the contract, and Jerry says they want to seal the deal at One Eye Jacks. And Ben's like, how do they know about One Eye Jacks? Which is a continuity issue, because in the previous one, he was the one who suggested they seal the deal at One Eye Jacks, right? So, I don't know what's going on here. It's Twin Peaks, though, so it doesn't matter as much as it would in the real drama. Do you know what I mean? So Ben says, get him in the van, Jerry. And while he's getting him in the van, he phones Josie and tells her that Catherine needs to be at the meal. I don't know how Catherine's supposed to get to the meal. It's not clear, but he says Catherine needs to be at the meal. And then, once that phone call ends, we see Josie again standing in the dark, but in her own place, right? But as it pans round, Hank's there. And they kiss. Do they kiss?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, she's busy, isn't she? She's very industrious.
Well, this is one thing, and I guess it's coming back to obviously the sexuality and everything, but all these, double crossings and business relationships and all that with the women, it seems to be that they have to be sleeping with everybody they're in kind of cahoots with.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're filthy, these people. Anyway, Audrey, this is a great set. This again was a scene everyone talked about, right? Audrey rocks up at One Eye Jacks with a job with a CV, right? And she's called herself Hester Prynne, the sort of one of the main character from the Scarlet Letter, right?
Yeah.
Becky reads through her CV and says she says something like, "How's Big Abe?" or something like that. And then Audrey says, "Oh, fine." And he says, "That's the name of my dog, I've read the Scarlet Letter." And it's like, do prostitutes really have CVs? Or resumes? I don't know. I don't know how that works, but it seemed a bit weird.
I thought you were asking me then.
No, it was rhetorical. It was rhetorical. And then Audrey says she asked for the cherry, right? And then she eats the cherry, and then she puts the stem in her mouth and ties a knot in it and gives it back to Blackie. And apparently that qualifies you to be a well-paid sex worker. There you go. That's a neat party trick, though, isn't it?
Yeah, wow. That is, actually.
I think I practiced that for a bit because I was quite impressed. I'm serious. I think I got some cherry steams and see if I could do it. Not a hope, not even close. Yeah. Big talking point. In fact, I'm pretty sure I saw T-shirts with the cherry stem knotted.
Really?
For a time.
Was there any kind of discussion about it in relation to the cherry Coke?
Yes, there was, but I can't remember what it was. There was something about cherry, I think fruit, cherries, which again might have also involved a discussion about the grapes being off or right on the edge or something.
That's interesting.
Fruit became a thing, and then birds became a thing. Things were a bit frenetic. I mean, I'd forgotten how far apart the two seasons were. I think in the UK they weren't that far apart in terms because the first season was aired fairly late compared to America, but the second one followed on quite closely. But I think between the two there was a lot of season one, a lot of discussion about what this could mean and what that could mean. Pretty much everyone was spotted as a potential suspect, and as I say, I think even Waldo was mentioned, Diane was mentioned as a potential suspect. And so on. Even Laura was mentioned as a suspect. She'd actually faked her own... Yeah, anyway.
What about the log?
I think the log was mentioned. Yes, I think the log was mentioned. Anyway, so Audrey kind of gets the job. And then we get Cooper back at the blackjack table, and Jack comes on as the dealer. Meanwhile, back at Jacoby's place, he's watching Invitation to Love. Jade's in it. The actress, the character Jade in Invitation to Love is being given a drink while Jacoby's having his own cocktail. He's like, Del Boy kind of cocktail. And then they ring Jacoby. And it's intriguing here because I was really expecting to use the tape recorder to fool him, right? But what happens is Maddie's pretending to be Laura, which is okay, I guess. I guess that tape recording gives her something to mimic.
Yes, like the bird.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. There's lots of mimicry in this one. And they then say, go look on your doorstep. He finds a videotape, puts it on, and we see Maddie as Laura holding up today's paper. It says, please go to, street so-and-so and street so-and-so intersection in 10 minutes. But he doesn't go straight away, does he? He re-watches the tape and sees the gazebo or whatever it is, and he spots where it should be, so he goes there instead, which means he's not as far away as he should be. Meanwhile, James and Donna have gone there. Bobby's also lurking in the undergrowth watching all this, right? He sees James and Donna drive off. He sees Laura, what he thinks is Laura. Does he actually... there's actually one question here that I thought to myself, why actually is she dressed as Laura at this point? Any ideas?
Because she's just filmed the tape, I'm guessing.
Wouldn't you insta take the wig off if you're in a town where a woman's just been killed and you're dressed exactly like her?
Well, that's the thing. I was a bit confused on which is when they told him to go to a certain point, why she had to stay next to the gazebo, why she couldn't go with the other two.
Yeah.
Why they couldn't all go in the car, because they had a car and the motorbike, so why couldn't they all go together? Why did she have to stay there?
Yeah, because this confused me, because I thought she'd be going off to the place she was supposed to meet. If that was the intent, she was... Presumably, there's no reason for her to stay dressed unless she was going to pretend to be Laura. The only person she was going to pretend to be Laura to was Jacoby. Therefore, should she be going to the place where she was going to meet him? It confused the hell out of me, and I thought it just wasn't thought through or something. But I don't really care. It just was a bit weird,
It was, especially if they think he might be the killer at this point.
Yeah, that's
they
worse.
Would leave her on her own with him.
Yeah, it's weird. So Bobby's kind of watching her. He follows James and Donna, right, to Jacoby's office. However, someone else is watching all this, right? There's definitely someone else watching all this. We're getting cinema, we're getting shaky cam from further away. Someone else is observing. Yeah, we're getting slasher. we are getting a bit of slasher, you're quite right. James and Donna, Jacoby's gone off. James and Donna are watching it off. Once he leaves, they go in, break into his office or make their way in. Bobby's followed them, and he plants a bag of drugs in James's gas tank, and he says something like, "Now I've got you good," or something silly like that. But meanwhile, someone's out there still watching Maddie, right? So, whoa, this isn't good. And it ends. So, not a bad episode. I'll tell you what, should we rate these two? So what did you... Sorry, have you got any last comments about this episode?
No.
Okay, what would you rate episode 6? Oh man, what was it called? Cooper's Dreams.
Which had no dreams in them, but I suppose
Yeah,
everything related back to it, didn't it?
Yeah.
But I agree, yeah, the titles again a bit. I quite enjoyed the first use of the titles so far, but they're not very good at the minute. But anyway, this episode, I believe, was the first one written solely by Mark Frost.
It's interesting that... Sorry, the first one. Yeah, the first one was, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is the one where Cooper's a bit more humanised, right? Yes.
So I thought it was quite interesting. And in terms of the narrative, we get a hell of a lot packed into this episode. And it's not as kind of convoluted as others. I really enjoyed this. This episode in particular really kind of moved the plot forward. And I think this was the first episode directed by Leslie Linker Glatter, is it?
Yep. I think so.
And I really... I hope so. And I really enjoyed her direction.
There were some nice scenes in it, weren't there? There were some really distinctive and nice scenes. The cabin and the log lady and stuff like that.
Yes. So I think their kind of pairing worked really well. And also on that note, just to say that I really love how many female directors, just looking through the episodes that Lynch and Mark Frost brought on for this series.
It's quite impressive. I mean, you and I are covering the X-Files, and I think I established there's like one episode of the X-Files is directed by a woman out of hundreds of episodes, which is quite shocking.
Yes.
Whereas with Twin Peaks, that was not the case too. And there's some really good episodes. There's one particular one I really like by Diane Keaton.
I know, it blew my mind when you said that.
It's late in season 2, so it'll be a while before we get there. But that one I always think, wow, that's a really well directed episode.
Yes.
But yeah, it's quite nice to see this. And it's a well put together episode. And as I say, some quite distinctive scenes.
It really is. And I think I would rate this one a 9 because of how well it's filmed. And also, like I say, in terms of the narrative, you really get a lot of exposition for some of the key characters, and it really moves the actual plot along.
Yeah, I'm close to you. I think it's a very good episode, but we're talking extremely high standards here. So I'm gonna rate this in a relative way. I'm gonna give it an 8 because I think it's the weakest one we've seen so far, but it's still a great episode.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's the least memorable. There was just slightly bigger moments in some of the others, or there were longer, bigger moments in some of the others. So I give it an 8, but I got to stress this is extremely high watermark scoring, right? That is not a reflection. This is by no means a weak episode or a throwaway episode. It's a really good one, but I just feel it's the weakest of the ones we've seen so far. Right, number 7, realisation time. So this is, starts with Audrey in his bed and so on and so forth. Again, some quite distinctive moments. Leland sitting in the dark, we've already talked about at some length, and Waldo getting shot, and poor old Waldo. Actually, there was one other great moment in the last episode, which was Leland's breakdown on the dance floor kind of thing that was covered by people dancing. That was kind of really intense too. We get a lot of detective work from Audrey in this one, right?
Yes.
Really packed a lot of stuff in this episode. I mean, it feels like it was like an hour and a half instead of 45 minutes, but in a good way.
Yeah.
So what would you rate this?
I think I would rate this one an 8. And it was directed by Caleb Deschanel, who is the father of Emily and Zoe Deschanel. And I didn't realise, but their mother is also an actress, and she plays Donna's mother in the
Donna's
series.
mother. I've forgotten what her first name is, but I was aware of that. Donna's mother. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But thinking about it now, she does obviously look like them. But I think in comparison to the last episode, that was very much the kind of soap opera. Like I said, it kind of gearing the narrative forward, whereas this one really introduced the horror back into the series and the mystery.
Yeah, there's definitely slasher elements now, right?
Yes.
Isn't it great how it synthesises, soap opera with noir, with horror?
Yeah.
80s horror, in particular, really. Slasher's really an 80s thing. I mean, it started in the 70s. Actually, you know what? The horror in this feels more like the 70s slasher stuff, Black Christmas and Halloween than the 80s as much.
I think so. And again, like I said, the unicorn reminded me of the weapon that's used in Black Christmas as well.
Right, yeah. Now you're saying it. You are right. It's Black Christmas, isn't it? Yeah, Crystal. Right. Yeah. So next time we are covering the close of season 1, right? Episode 8, and it'll give us a chance to recap on the season as it's gone so far. Highs and lows. We might do a list, you know what I mean? One of them fun lists of 5 best moments or something like that. But you and I will talk about it off air. But we'll see how we go. But it'll be just the one episode and then a recap of season 1 next time. So, sorry for the delays in getting it out as usual this week. It was me. It's because I've been poorly. I'm feeling a fair bit better. Enough to record anyway. But we will be back on schedule to once a week after this, hopefully, because we are really gearing up to be all done and dusted by that 21st of May, season 3 start. We're really looking forward to that. Okay, then. So, bye from me.
Bye from me.
I can't remember if I say anything special now. I can't remember what it is. It's been so long since I recorded. Let's say bye. Bye-bye.
Darkness of future past, the magician longs to see one chance out between two worlds. Fire.